Welcome to the Moms of Tweens and Teens podcast. If some days you doubt yourself and you don't know what you're doing, if you've ugly cried alone in your bedroom because you felt like you're failing, well, I just want you to know you're not alone and you have come to the right place. Raising tweens and teens in today's world is not easy. And I'm on a mission to equip you to love well and to raise emotionally healthy, happy tweens and teens that thrive. I believe that moms are heroes and we have the power to transform our family and to impact future generations. If you are looking for answers, encouragement, and to become more of the mom and the woman that you want to be, welcome. I'm Cheryl Gould, and I am so glad that you're here. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the show. I am so glad that you're here today. And if you have a tween or teen who struggles to get excited about their life or find a sense of direction, I know how overwhelming that can be as a parent, just knowing how do I support them? And if you struggle with how do I motivate my kid? They're not very motivated. They really don't know what they're good at, and they just don't seem to have any sense of direction or know what they love to do. And you want to help them to find out what their gifts are, help them to find purpose, but it's hard to know how do you do that in the midst of all the pressures and the uncertainty of what are the next steps, and also all the expectations that are put on our kids today. Well, I am so excited to have Dana Roefer here, and we're going to talk about all of these things. We're going to dive into how to build an entrepreneurial mindset in our tweens and teens. And Dana serves as Vice President of Faith-Driven Entrepreneur for Teens. And entrepreneurship has been at the heart of Dana's career, both in launching her own ventures and supporting others and building theirs. And she is passionate about helping entrepreneurs gain clarity, navigate challenges, and bring their ideas to life. Alongside her husband, Matt, Dana has also founded the Grand Rapids Children's Business Fair and Journey Academy, creating opportunities for the young people to explore innovation and entrepreneurship. So Dana, welcome. I am so happy that you're here with us today.
I'm so thrilled to be here. That's a lot of entrepreneurship to have to talk through. So I'm impressed. It's not an easy word.
I know, entrepreneurship, but it's so important. And
Totally.
I just want to, hear from you. How did you start doing what you're doing? How did you find this niche?
So funny. And I'm glad that you asked. We talked briefly just, before we got started here. I'm from West Michigan. And West Michigan, when I was growing up, is not an entrepreneurial hotbed. Okay. There's a lot happening now, but it was not that way when I was younger. So after I graduated from college, I ended up down in Austin, Texas. So not far from you, just a few hours away, and really got thrown in. I honestly think it's because I've just always been a really curious person. I just got thrown into the world of entrepreneurship. Austin has a really strong ecosystem around entrepreneurship. I was at a web design and development firm, and then I had a couple of clients that were starting new things, that were building new things. And I just got sucked in. I just absolutely got sucked in, led an organization there early in my career that was for bringing entrepreneurs together each year. And then when we moved back to Michigan, we just starting because we had connections in Austin, and we were like, look at what they're doing. What if we could do it there? And so it's just amazing to see how each one of those stepping stones happens when you don't know they're happening at that moment, but they really are. It's a gift.
Yeah, that's so neat. And you can sense your excitement in what you do.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
fun.
yeah, tell us a little bit because we were talking before this. This is like an offshoot from faith-driven entrepreneur. Is
Yep.
that's correct, right?
Yep. Correct.
And
Yeah.
so tell me why teens? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so we are a ministry, we're a nonprofit organization, and what we do at Faith Driven really well is create content and build community. But around content on its own, kind of what's the point, right? But what we do really well is create content that inspires people to think differently and then act differently. Because when you see someone else's story, it challenges you in ways that you're like, whoa, they took a different road, like maybe there's a different road that I should take. And so the organization had grown over the course of 5 years, and we just started asking the question, or some of our participants actually started asking the question, like, what might it look like if we started seeding these ideas and challenging and inspiring people earlier? And so that's where we landed on teens, getting ahead of some of those really big decisions that they have to make in their life. And that's how we got here.
Yeah, I love that you're offering it for tweens and teens. And that is such a tough age with all the, like I said in the intro, with all the pressures that they feel today. You got to get in your volunteer hours. And
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, it kind of feels like it's turning a little bit from like, I have to follow this one path
Yeah.
to being more open. But I didn't know what I wanted to do when I
Right.
went off to college.
Right.
And I didn't have anybody talking to me about having a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And I even think about some of the choices I made. I mean, didn't make the greatest choices in college. And I think when I look back, I think a big part of that is I didn't know what my gifts were.
Right.
And I struggled academically.
Yep.
And I didn't feel any sense of guidance or direction or purpose.
Yep.
And what a difference. Like, what have you noticed in the kids that have gone, the teens that have gone through your program? What are you starting to notice when they get kind of a sense of purpose?
Yeah. So, two things on that. I think the first one, when you're going towards these big decisions, sometimes the questions that we as adults have been trained to ask are where? Well, it's either what and where, right? So, it's are you going to college? Are you not going to college? Or where are you going to college, right?
Mhm.
I think what we're lacking is why, right? Like the big question really is why. And once you can answer why, then you can answer what and where.
Mhm.
And so, like, my quest is to how do we ask why earlier? And how do we get to some answers on why before we make those decisions? You talk about or asked about some of the young people that have gone through the course. I think, and you talked about kind of overwhelm and pressure. One of the things that we got out of our beta course, which we did, I think it was last November, was just this reflection from the young people of I now recognize what I'm good at, and maybe also equally as important, what I'm not. And
Mhm.
maybe that's okay, right? Because I think the pressure comes from I have to be good at everything. Because think about it, that's the way the system's built. And I say this over and over and over and again. And I'll continue to say over and over and over again. Academic years are the only time in your life that you have to be good at everything.
Mhm.
You do. That's the expectation. The expectation is good grades, thriving in your academics, thriving as a son or daughter, thriving as a friend, like all these things. Well, yeah, we want that too when we're adults. But once we get into our career fields, man, I can do these things really well. But Joy on my team, she crushes me on all these other things. And Kelly on my team, she crushes me on all these things. Like, thank God for Kelly and Joy, right? Like I don't have to do all those things because I'm not that good at all those things. And so I think that when you talk about kind of the overwhelm and the pressure, that's what we want to bring down to just say, who are you, Cheryl? And what are the gifts that you have? What are the strengths that you have and bring to the situation? And then how do you talk about that in a way that brings confidence to you so you can really walk in that strength and not in all the things that you're not, because that's not helpful.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up because I think there's so many kids now and neurodiverse and
Yep.
trying to fit that square peg in a round hole, and if you don't fit exactly, you're not a student, you're not like me. I mean, math was just terrible. And thankfully in college I didn't have to take math. I don't know how
Yeah.
I got away with that, but
Okay, you weren't as bad as you thought you were then because you got to test out of it.
I don't know. I don't think they did that back then. But anyway, I didn't have to take it, but that was not my strength.
Yeah,
Then what are your strengths?
right.
Or you can start feeling badly that you're not good. I work with moms all the time and their kids are so discouraged because they don't feel like they're succeeding at anything. And so,
Right.
that I love that question of like, why are you going to college? Like really thinking about why? Why do I want to go to college? And then who am I? And I think that's such a good question. I'm going to sneeze. Okay.
Oh, it went away. Bless you.
I know. Thank you. Um, yeah, there's such a good question is like, who am I? And I think that we can fall into this as parents of who we think our kids should be rather than who they really are. So
Yep.
how do what would you say to our listeners right now? How can they help their kids to recognize what their strengths are?
Yeah. Oh, it's my favorite question because it really does take us as parents. And I'm not saying this because of pressure. I'm saying it as an incredible opportunity, right? So there's an incredible opportunity as stewards of our kids. And what we have is a front row seat to their life. And so we not only know, so my boys are 12 and 10. So I am like
Oh,
in this,
okay.
I am in this too, right? I'm in the tween phase. The 12 he's rapidly moving into the teen phase. And that is just, it's fun. It's fun to watch. But the way that I try to think about this as a mom is that I do have that front row seat to identify. And a lot of these gifts you started seeing when they were so young, right? Like I think about my 10-year-old. So my 10-year-old has always loved, I'm going to grab something physical, like little things, little toys. He's a very tactical kid, right? Like he just loves doing. He's moving all the time and he loves doing. And I've watched it over time. I've watched it over time. Now he's moving into like he does a lot of writing and he spends a lot of time like now he's moved into writing songs and baking, like very physical thing, like doing something with physical things. And so what I get to do is walk alongside him and say, "Oh, we have a curiosity about baking. What can we do? Like let's try something." And then help with some of the things that he can. I mean, he can't go out drive out to the store and buy the things that he needs, right? So I can support him in that and set the environment in a place where he can try something and see if he likes it or if he doesn't like it. Same thing with writing. I mean, he'll write a song or write a story, and then we can walk through it together to say, how might we increase this? But he's just getting reps in along the way. And I think with every kid, we have the opportunity to come alongside them and just be curious about them and what's happening. And then what are some of those connections that can make because we're adults that we can help them with? You said earlier, you talked about volunteer hours. And I actually love that example because what a great place to
Yeah.
start trying. So many of our kids live in a digital world right now, right? Like we know this. We live in a digital world. They're running all over the place. It's crazy pace, all of that. I love encouraging parents to get out into the real world and doing things with their kids. So if it's volunteering or even them going and volunteering, helping to debrief that conversation, we actually volunteered at a walk on Saturday as our family, the four of us. And it was so interesting to see where they moved. Like my younger one would walk into the more social dynamic where it's like, I have a job to give balloons to the kids and I'm going to make the little kids happy. And he just naturally went in there. Where the other kid is thinking things like, you know, why do they have all this extra time at the beginning? Do we need all this extra time at the beginning? Maybe they could have shifted their hours that we weren't here because he's just a strategic brain of how events could work. And so I'm continually leaning in and just saying, what are ways that it might be done better? Like, how would you have done this differently? Or is there a way that you think this might have functioned better? And so moving into that facilitator mode, I think can really help when we're in this front seat in our kids' lives. Sorry, that was a winded answer, but there's so many ways. And sometimes it's the mundane. It's at the grocery store. Or, it's driving in the car where you can ask these questions about how they've spent their time.
Well, what I love about this, and listeners, I want you to think about this, it's getting curious,
Yes.
it's watching, it's being an
Yep.
observer of our kids. And so you
Yep.
were even noticing one of your kids was thinking about how it could have been done better, or if they had have done this, or had like a problem solver, more
Totally.
how can we make this run more efficiently? How interesting. And then your other son was like, I'm going to hand out balloons and I'm going to connect with the kids and I'm going to make them happy.
Yep.
And just noticing that. And I think that is very helpful because I think we get so busy, we feel like we have to be constantly doing versus kind of stepping back, taking a breath, slowing down, being curious to notice like where do they get lit up? Like what,
Hmm.
even in your family, where are their strengths? And asking good questions.
Yep. Totally.
Yeah. And you have a whole assessment through this course that has been proven. There's been a lot that has
Yeah.
gone behind this where because I already looked at your course and everything and I thought I would love to do this. Um, with my grandkids, one of my daughters, and even my husband to find out where your strengths lie.
Hmm.
Can you
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah. So the course is broken down into 12 different episodes, and we tell stories through the lens of entrepreneurship, through business owners, that have started something, done it a little bit differently. The reason we do that is because every day our young people are experiencing business in their physical world and in their digital world. So it's an example that they get because they're seeing it, right? And then we do have the opportunity in the first session where it really is trying to dive into like, what about you? Right. So you may see that Lecrae, the rapper and artist does it a certain way, but what is your story? And what are the things that are driving you? And why are you being driven that way? And then we've partnered with Patrick Lencioni of the Table Group. So he's a business management consultant, essentially, and he's built out the Working Genius. And so the Working Genius assessment allows us to say, if we're working through a project, where are the places that we really thrive, right, in that process? Because again, we are not expected to thrive in every different area of our life. And so we love the Working Genius because it is something that you can put into practice right away. And it gives clarity, and you can continue to walk in it and be like, man, I'm strong in this area. And so I want to do more of this. And then we're able throughout the rest of the episodes to just help connect dots. It's different business types, it's different experiences, helping them to recognize who is in their life that they could learn from. So if it's a parent's friend or a teacher, right? Like who are those people and how do they connect some of those dots?
Oh, I like that. The connecting the dots piece.
Yeah. It's so important. When you think about, so our young people have, they have very limited exposure to opportunities.
Yeah.
So I heard a statistic years ago, and I think it still rings true. It should, but it was that our average junior in high school has only been exposed to something like 7 careers. And so this is their
Hmm.
dentist, their librarian, their teacher, right? And maybe they've been exposed to more, but it's very brief. It's not like I see and understand what you do for your work every day. And so I feel like this is such a key opportunity for us as parents And also in this course. So in this course, we're exposing them to like 12 different, very different types of businesses. We have artists, we have car dealerships, we have business consulting, we have YouTubers. We run the gamut of businesses in this course because we want them to understand that there's so many different ways. But I do think that exposure is something that parents can help with too, of whenever you go to a new place, or if you're at a different type of, maybe they're going to the dermatologist for the first time, right? Your dermatologist is a doctor, but it's a very specific doctor. Why did they decide that? Like, there's just so many opportunities for our young people. If you're walking in, you're meeting your dermatologist for the first time, and they can be curious, like, why did you choose this as a career? Right? I'm so curious about it. And by the way, all adults want to talk about themselves, especially to kids. Especially to kids, right? Because it's us giving back, and we want to encourage them, and we want them to just know that we care about them.
Yeah, I think that's great. I like so much about what you're doing with the course is you're really educating us as well as parents.
Yeah.
Because I think that I don't know. With my, my kids are out of the house now. But I didn't know how to do this with them to really help them. It was like they kind of fell into certain niches, but now they're
Yeah.
doing something totally different, which
Yeah.
is so interesting. All
Yep.
three of them.
Yep.
And so yeah, just being able to know as a parent, how do I help my kid? How do I start having these conversations? How do I connect the dots so that they can be exposed to something that they're curious about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's equally as important to know what you are interested in as it is what you're not.
Yeah.
So I have seen, Cheryl, so many people that, you decide you want to be a teacher, and you get to your fifth year because that's when you get into the classroom and start student teaching, right? Year 5. It's your first time setting foot in a classroom, and you hate being in a classroom. You love learning about teaching, but when you're in front of the firing squad and all the kids are in front of you, and you're like, I can't do this. I'm exhausted every day. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. We need to get into a classroom earlier, you know,
Yeah.
and recognize that and be like, nope, not for me. That's not the
Meanwhile,
thing for
yeah.
me. Okay, cool. So, what are these other clues that we can continue to connect and put together to create? Because we're not looking for, I think sometimes we can get into trouble by saying we're looking for some destination, and you know exactly what you want to be when you grow up, and you're going to get there. I had no idea that this was the work that I was going to be doing. I had no idea that this is the work that you were going to be doing. But if we can step in every day and say, what do I need to learn today? And again, it goes back to curiosity. Curiosity is a superpower. I'm going to put this as the tagline on all the things because it is. And if you can step into it and be like, you know what? If this isn't my dream job, who am I meeting? What am I learning? What more could I learn? What more could I say? And that is the entrepreneurial mindset, right? Of really being curious. Where could I add value? How could I learn more? What do I do with this information? And I think that mindset is so valuable for our young people because it's not about figuring out these big, huge decisions down the road. It's like the little steps along the way that may get us somewhere in the future, but it doesn't have to be some destination point.
And that's where I think kids get really anxious nowadays. They see so
Totally.
much on social media and they're comparing themselves, and then they have all the other pressures like, I'm supposed to have it figured out. Just a lot of pressure rather than what you're saying is, oh, what can I learn along the way? And then it really helps them love learning.
100%.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to,
Absolutely.
yeah, be with what they feel like they're not good at. It was
Yes.
interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She's a best-selling author, Dr. Michelle Borba.
Okay. I'm
And
not familiar.
she wrote Thrivers. She's written many books, but one was Thrivers, Why Some Kids Succeed and thrive and others do not.
Mm.
It's everything you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I got to read
And
it.
yeah, and she said that unfortunately she traveled all around the world and interviewed kids that as parents, we are most focused on our kids' worst grade and getting that grade
Yeah.
versus what we see as their strengths and focusing more on that. And that's exactly what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
helping our kids to think about, what gets them excited, being curious, seeing all the exciting opportunities, not just,
Yeah.
oh, it's one more thing. I liked how you held it because I kind of tend to hold it like, oh, they have to do volunteer hours, like one more thing. But if you shift that mindset,
Oh, you can learn so
then
much.
it could be exciting. Like,
Oh, it's
well, yeah, what are your choices out there?
yeah.
Some things you could do that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
So,
is an example from my own life around volunteering. And it's so funny when these stories come up. So I went on and I had just graduated. I think I was 23. I was 23. It was the summer when I was 23 after I had graduated. And I went on a mission trip to Haiti. I had no business being on a medical mission trip to Haiti. I have no medical ability, but my friend was connected. Their family was really well connected with this trip. She'd gone on a lot. Anyway, I was like, I'm going to go on this trip. So it was a graduation present for my parents. I get there and I'm like, I have no medical skill, like none at all. And it was at an orphanage. And I spent like an hour playing with the kids. And I was like, I need a nap. Like, I'm so tired. I and I love my kids, like my actual kid, but like I was whipped. And I was like, what am I going to do for the whole week? Like, how am I actually going to be useful around here? And so I just started looking around. Well, we all brought these like massive bags of supplies with us. There was no plan for anyone to do anything with the supplies other than we were bringing them. And there were no people to do it. And then I went into the office and there were like these stacks of records, like medical records, never been filed anywhere, right? Because who puts on the job description for the medical mission trip? We need somebody to come like organize our office and create our pharmacy from our supplies. No one. Like that's not in the job description. So I just did it. So I started like diving in and I'm because I think this way, right? Like I dive into organizational things and there's a problem that I could solve. So by the end of the week, the pharmacy, like I have a picture of this, the pharmacy is all set up and all the drugs are where they need to be on these shelves. And then they've got the stack of papers. There's no more stack. And I was like, whoa, look at what just happened. And I didn't know it was happening in that moment. Yeah. So I filed and I created all these organizational systems. I didn't know what was happening at the time. Right? Like I was 23. Like I didn't have this recognition of what was actually happening. And I went back after I'd been passionate about this and I was like, whoa, just by being intentional about adding value there, look at what I created. Look at what I was able to do. And I didn't know. I just stepped into that spot, but I learned so much through it. Right. And I think that's the thing is just solving, young people can handle really tough problems. Let them. Like,
yeah.
let
And
them.
yeah, and you learned that that wasn't what got you excited, yet you
Right.
didn't make yourself bad around that. Like I can see kids like, oh, I don't like doing this and I should, right? I
Yes. Oh,
should,
yeah. No,
but versus no, okay, that's not my jam. I got to find where I can be helpful here. That's going to
totally.
feel good to me.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I love that.
Learning is everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So I just love, love, love what you're doing. So tell them a little bit. Did you say it's 12 weeks?
Yeah. Well, so it doesn't have to be done in weeks. We have 12 episodes.
Okay.
So the Called to Create course, that's what it's called. It's 12 episodes so built in 3 different seasons. It's about 12 hours of content. And that's just because there's videos and then there are workbooks, there's reflection questions. So if the young person is able to really take the time to dive in the self-discovery and do the work, it's about 12 hours. But it can be done on their own time. It's a digital course and digital access. So it can be done over a weekend if you wanted to. But what I love about it is, we say it's for teens. When I was first reviewing content, right? My 12 and 10-year-olds like snuck into my bedroom. Why I didn't include them in the first place, I'm not really sure. Anyway, they snuck in, like, what are you doing? You're watching videos, you're watching all this. And I was like, yeah, I'm reviewing content. We're about to launch the course, the Call to Create course. They were like, why didn't you tell us? You're in here watching these videos and you didn't tell us. And they sat with me for like 5 episodes. They were like, this is so great. This is so great. Like they were so into it. And it's not boring. It's like really exciting, interesting content, but then it's also like, what does that mean for me? Right. And it really puts them into that space. So even the 10 and 12-year-olds really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, and you have a lot of well-known people. Like you have Colby Cotton from Dude Perfect, and I
Hmm.
watched his stuff and
Right in your neck of the woods.
yes, yes, and I know a sister and then you have Lecrae, who's the singer rapper, and
Yep.
you have a lot of really fun entrepreneurs for them to watch, and it's
Yeah.
entertaining. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know what I really liked? You've kept the price down. I mean, things are so
Yeah.
expensive now when you sign up for something, and then you can also you have like, is it a scholarship program for
We
somebody?
do. Yeah. So we have an offer right now that is, so the price of the course is $99, but then additional users are 25. So if you're a family, my sister has 6 kids. We're not going to do $99 for 6 kids for one family. So 99 and then 25 for the additional users if you're doing it in a small group or if you want to, get a group of friends together or if it's just your family. But the individual user is the 99. And then we do have scholarship options too.
Gosh, so yeah, and you use it for like youth groups or schools. I think it would
Yeah.
be cool to actually have a group of kids come over and lead it with their friends. That would be cool.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm actually going to have the opportunity to host a local group here this summer, and I'm super excited
With a
to
group of
see.
teenagers.
Yep, with a group of teens.
And you said that it's or that it can be used with some kids that are younger. What would you say the
Yeah.
age is?
Yeah. I would say the best ages is really high school. I think the younger, so the tweens will enjoy it. I think what's a little bit harder for the younger demographic is when we get into some of the self-discovery and really having a deeper understanding of self.
Okay.
The concepts can just be a little bit harder. It's not that they can't do it. It's not that it isn't, it's good still to plant those seeds. It's just a little bit further reach. But when you get to, sophomore, junior, senior in high school, they're already having to start to think about these things as they think about some of those big decisions coming up. So we really want to get ahead of them in a really positive and encouraging way, right? And just affirming them and the gifts that they have.
I love that. Yeah. And I think even, if they're a tween, to be able to plant some seeds, they might not be there, but you're getting them to think about it
Totally.
and starting that conversation. I would have just loved that when I was that age. So it would have
Yeah.
benefited me so much. So where can they find it? You also have, you're in the process of developing coaching. I just have
Hmm.
to say that so that they
Yes.
know that's coming, so they can have a mentor coach that walks alongside
Yep.
them. And then
Yep.
you have an event. Where's your event going to be in
So the
2020?
event will be virtual and you can follow. So all of these different offerings, you can follow along at Faith Driven Entrepreneur for teens.org. I'll send it to you because entrepreneur is not an easy word to spell.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the
Yeah, that'll be good for there. But yeah, so we'll have a conference in April of 2026 where we have some new speakers that are going to be sharing some news stories that we're really excited about. We haven't announced anything yet, so I can't announce yet, but it's very exciting. And then coaching will likely come in the next 3 to 6 months, so the next quarter. But that really is okay. This is really great to do on your own. But if you really want someone to walk alongside you, help to uncover, right? Help with some of those clues, help to facilitate, to dive deeper. We're really excited to walk alongside young people in that way.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, that is great. Because then they can really start thinking through, and it also helps them to, yeah, you really integrate the material.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that I've left out, like anything that you would like to add and let parents know?
I am so grateful for the opportunity and so grateful to share and you just allowing us to come and share. But if anything, I hope that listeners hear encouragement, right? And like, I know it can be a really hard season walking alongside teens and tweens, but with curiosity that you identified and just um, intentionally watching and seeking what is going on in the lives of your kids, I think you will be so pleasantly surprised to see some of these gifts come to life. And then the way that they respond when you're able to call it out of them, right? Because you're the one there that can bring that encouragement and that affirmation of them. So
Yeah, I love it.
that's my
Yeah. Intentional. And I think it's great that you can take that assessment too for an extra $25 to find out like what your strengths are. A lot of
yeah.
them
So it is part of
I've
the
lost
course.
myself.
Yeah, so we do, oh, for the parents. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
for sure. Absolutely. And then you have a common language, right? You have a common language with your young people of where they stand and where you are too.
yeah. I think that's great. It's fun to join them and in it too. And how does this apply to my own life? So
Right.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. So thank you
Oh,
so much. And tell them where to find you. You have Instagram, you've got,
LinkedIn.
uh-huh.
Yeah, we're still building. We're only a few months in, but we have dreams of getting additional content kind of on YouTube and places. But right now you can mostly find us on Instagram and LinkedIn and then our website. But yeah, I would love to connect with parents. If they want to connect directly with me on LinkedIn, we can do that too. I'm not as active as I want to be, but I try to bring encouragement of what this looks like. I mean, I have a story of my kids, you know, selling comic books over the summer here and just the
Well,
ways they found them at a garage sale, a box at a garage sale, negotiated a price, and now they're like building out how do we get the best return that we can over the summer. They have a full inventory list that they've written down. I mean, it's just wild. So I try to bring those types of stories and encouragement to people too.
wow. Where are they selling them?
We haven't started selling yet. So this is new. This was Saturday. They've done the inventory so far, and then they're going to go first to a comic book store to just feel it out, like where are we at. And then they will probably eBay, Facebook Marketplace, online spaces.
Okay. I'm
I mean,
loving it.
we'll walk with them as they do it, but yeah, I mean,
You're
they're
planting
doing it.
those seeds. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah. That is so great. Well, Dana, yeah, thank you. And I will put everybody, all the links, faith-driven entrepreneur for teens, right?
Yeah. FDE for teens.org will also get you there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'll send you that one too. That's the easy one.
Okay. All right, Dana, thank you so much for being
Thank you,
with us
Cheryl.
today.
It's so great. Thanks for the work you do.
Well, that's it for today, friend. And thank you so much for joining me. And I have a special announcement. I am so excited. Many of you know that we have a membership here, and we have 3 levels actually, and I'm not going to go into all the detail. You can check it out on momsoftweensandteens.com, but many of you wanted to join, and you were like, you know what, I just cannot, I can't do it with my budget right now. So we have created an $8 a month membership that is awesome. You receive monthly workshops. I do live. You have a whole community, and it's available through the Mighty Network app. And there's a community you can go to and ask questions. I personally engage with you. Every question that is asked, I answer. And also, we have all kinds of resources. We have an archive of all kinds of past workshops and conversation scripts and all kinds of connection tools. We have things around anxiety and motivation and disrespect and just a plethora of screens. We just did a whole workshop on how to set limits with screens with your kid over the summer. And there is so much great stuff coming up. So I want to encourage you to check it out. If you're looking for more support in your life and your parenting, I highly recommend it. It is so worth it. And I want to get to know you. And so many of the moms that have joined, not so many, but quite a few are like, I listen to the podcast. That's how I know who you are. And so if you're one of those people and you just want to try it out, you can go to momsoftweensandteens.com, and that whole page is all about the membership. So I hope you'll check it out. Let me know when you join so I can say, yay, you heard this on the podcast, and personally welcome you. So have a great week, and I am so looking forward to seeing you back here next time.